it's Melanie.
And Scadio McClure with Ecstatic Hearts. Welcome, guys, for another tantalizing Tantra talk on Tuesday. Today, we're talking about our sexual empowerment is shaped by our stories. So this is actually one of the most insidious, widespread, powerful phenomenons affecting us all today that most of us are not aware of. In fact, most personal development companies out there revolve around this core concept. Now, when I'm talking about stories, this is the same thing as paradigms. Different organizations call this different things. Stories, belief systems, paradigms, rackets, circle traps, programmings, shadow work. All this is basically the same thing. And it's basically, when we're young, 80% of this happens before we're 5, by the way, we create stories, we create belief systems, we create interpretations of our reality that then we think are true, and then they stay with us and grow with us throughout our whole life, and then our entire life is dictated and controlled around these central beliefs. And it's unconscious. We don't even know what's happening. And we'll give you an example in a minute, but the important thing is that if you have a belief, let's say that, for me, when I was young, my parents were in a codependent relationship, and my mom was very needy. And so I had this belief that I had to be in a relationship, I had to be a man, and I had to take care of the woman, and that it was going to be a drain on my resources, and it was going to be challenging, and I had to get all my shit together before I could start dating, etc. And guess what kind of women showed up? Needy people that wanted to be codependent like my mom. And not only that's what showed up, but I thought that was all that existed, because we have filters, because our stories, our experiences, the interpretations actually we make about our experiences then are the glasses through which we look through, and we can only see through those filters. We might not like someone because they remind us of our ex, or we might not like an event because some other similar event happened, and we think that this is a pattern just like the past, and that we're not dealing with reality. We're dealing with our past that's biased by the past. And then so if there's like a variety of women there, I won't even see. I can't even acknowledge literally I cannot see the people or the opportunities that don't match my pre-existing vision. So this is really powerful when we get into this. So let's talk about beliefs. Like, where do our beliefs come from, honey?
So our beliefs come from what we made up as kids. So events happened when we were young. Let's see.
So where do we get our beliefs from?
Well, they come from all over. They come from our family, they come from church and religion, they come from school, they come from society, from media. We're just inundated with all of these ideas and beliefs from all over. And some of them we just made up on our own. I mean, we're kids when we make them up. And it's hard not to absorb our culture and the cultural beliefs that surround us. And like we talked about last week, around sexuality and empowerment, it's usually riddled with shame. We usually have disempowering and not forwarding stories around sexuality. Yeah, and that's just an example. We call them limiting beliefs, because the beliefs we created limit us and keep us from having what we really want, from living the lives that we really want, from finding love, from finding romance, relationships, amazing sex lives, because honestly, the beliefs that are in our society are not very forwarding for us.
Now, some are. Now, some of our belief systems that we create are actually really good for us. And like, we create patterns of, like, I don't know, something like brushing our teeth. If we believe that's good and we do it, that's probably good for us. But there's other patterns that might not forward us. And so what we're talking about here, the shadow work, is to going into and noticing and discovering what are the negative beliefs or the beliefs that are getting in the way of what we really want.
Yeah. And the beliefs are something that our subconscious runs in the background that is protecting ourselves, keeping us the same, keeping us from growing, because that's what's safe. What we know is what's safe. And
they might have been useful at that time. They might have been what we needed in some cases when we were 5 or so, but they might not serve us now. Here's the thing about beliefs. Beliefs can change. Like the beliefs that served us when we were 5 are not necessarily the same beliefs that I want to be running my life when I'm 48, or even 12. So you got to be careful. And people get really positional about beliefs, and that's one of the problems too, is when you get into righteousness thinking, when you say this is the one right way, what you're doing is you're limiting all other options. And this is really dangerous, actually. It's like the Buddhists believe that duality is the cause of all suffering. So when you think in terms of I'm right and you're wrong, which we all love to do, is that do you think she's going to be in a loving, connected space with me when I'm making her wrong?
No.
Try,
we're never feeling
it almost
when
never
we're
works.
Told we're wrong.
I mean, I don't know any woman actually. I don't know how enlightened you are, but if you're making someone wrong because you're righteous, it doesn't create love and connection. So
this is a tip for long-lasting, happy relationships.
Yeah. So if you want to stay married,
let your partner be right.
Especially when it's not really that important. I actually look for ways I can be wrong every day, and I celebrate it, because if I'm wrong, what that means is I'm open to new interpretations, new growth, new learning. So I always question my assumptions and beliefs. Okay, and the thing is that our beliefs change. Can't two people be right about the same thing? I mean, we get so narrow focused for our quest for truth, and truth is an interpretation, and 2 or 3 people can have the exact same experience and have different interpretations, and guess what? They can all be right. One of the cool things I love about Tantra is the philosophy of when you're trying to choose between A and B and they're both amazing and you can't figure out which one is, they go choose both and more, because we have an abundant, limitless world, and we actually say choose both and all.
Yeah.
Oneness, Tantra's like oneness with everything. Anyway, so without getting too down that rabbit hole, the point is that be open to change, be open to different interpretations, and be careful with your assumptions. Okay, so I've got a special audio visual. I don't know if you can read this, but this is what happens, is that we have events, and then we have an interpretation of that event, and then we take action, which gets us something else. The important thing about this is that when we think these are the same, we collapse the event and the interpretation, so that when something happens, ever heard the term like I'm triggered? Like when you get triggered, what that means is this event happened and you immediately went to action, because you've already interpreted and unconsciously gone down this path. It's usually a pattern that you've done before. And then when you're in a trigger, when you're in a pattern, then you are helpless. You don't have any ability to change and shift. And so it's really important to uncover that.
So what that's like is like when we're on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's like whenever you're driving and you get somewhere and you don't actually remember driving there or how you got there. This is what the subconscious does with our beliefs. It just subconsciously gets us to the result, and we don't even know what happened or how we got there.
Yeah, and it's good because we want to be efficient and we want to, make quick and easy decisions. So it's just the brain's way of systematizing things to serve us. The problem is, if we made beliefs that worked in the past that don't serve us now, we need to be able to uncover that and change that. So let's talk about a technique that can do this. You want to cover like witness consciousness?
Yeah.
So what is witness consciousness?
So witness consciousness is a huge practice. It's like mindfulness that we use in Tantra for a lot of things. It's especially helpful for us staying aware and being conscious and being present whenever events happen. So whenever an event happens and I start noticing that I'm feeling upset, witness conscious means that I'm being the observer and I'm witnessing everything that's going on with my body, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and noticing every step of the way.
While you're fully feeling the experience. This isn't about getting into your head and ignoring your body. It's fully feeling it and noticing it at the same time.
And it's by doing this that I'm able to uncover what it is that triggered me and what it is that made me upset and why I'm not feeling a happy camper. For example, one of the things that I noticed a lot is we were in this big personal development program, 90 days, and it was all designed to trigger us and uncover that unhappy stories that we had. And I'm not really easily triggered, but I did notice that whenever I'm tired and I'm hungry, watch out, world! Whenever I'm tired and I'm hungry, I start getting tired, losing patience, losing tolerance, and getting easily annoyed. And really, it didn't even have anything to do with what he was doing or anyone else was doing.
But what would your interpretation be? Like, give me an example of what event happened in the interpretation based in this state of mind. Like, I might say, do you want to go? Can you hand me that box of cookies or something? And you get upset and make an interpretation around it that's limiting. The point is that by using witness consciousness, instead of just getting upset and lashing out because she's hungry, she would notice, oh, look, I'm hungry. I'm not being rational right now because I'm acting out of something else that's not really the reality of the events that's going on. He's not saying pass me the cookie box because he doesn't care about me and he's not feeding me and he doesn't love me. It's because he just wanted a cookie and he's hungry too, right? So and, I'll give you an example.
Watch out whenever I'm hungry.
Yeah, and sometimes we do like these pattern, these circle traps we call it, where it's like, okay, so something for me that is like a trigger is that when I feel like we're in a hurry and I want to be in integrity and so forth, and so I feel when we're late, I'll like be Melanie, come on Melanie, and we gotta hurry up. And one of my stories is that she's late, and it's not true. No, it's not. It's just my interpretation that happens sometimes. So then I'm like, come on Melanie, let's go, and I'm starting to get upset, and then she goes, no one can tell me what to do. I'm an independent, powerful woman, and I am on time. And just to show him, I am going to go slower, and I'm going to.
He needs more grounding. We just need to take it down a notch.
And then, of course, she goes slower. I get more upset. I'm like, we gotta go. And you're like, no, we do not. Just breathe. And then we like get into this argument. And so when we get right before we're teaching a class or something, we're like, Okay, so if we notice and use witness consciousness. And if you haven't can tell, this is a pattern that even knowing about it, we still work on occasionally. But by noticing, using witness consciousness, look, I'm getting upset again. This is my abandonment issue coming up again. So instead of doing the normal thing I can do, maybe I can ask Melanie, like, hey, honey, what can I do to support you in getting ready? And then Melanie
also
has the direction. Yeah, what do you say?
When I'm triggered by his need to hurry and be on time and acting like I'm not being on time and I'm being late, and I'm like, we're perfectly on time, stop acting like I'm being late, stop trying to control me, blah, blah, blah. What I get to do is just breathe, relax, and instead of coming from a triggered place of going slower to make him late if he's going to complain about it, is I get to be like, that's right, my honey really feels supported and loved whenever we're on time according to his sense of time. So I can just, work on moving faster and getting ready sooner so I can support my honey in love rather than being triggered by him trying to control me.
Right. So the point here is awareness is the first step of change. So until you actually uncover and notice the emotions are the key. They're the things that give you a hint, a clue, like, something else is going on here. Then you don't have any access to change it, and you're at mercy and in control by your subconscious stories. Okay, so another thing you can do is you can go back and reprogram yourself. You can actually, if you have these emotions, if you have a pattern that's happening and you don't know what it is, you can go back and look. And so the quick story is like when I was young, for a while there, I was nervous around girls, and I was like, didn't want to ask them out. And I look back and I had an event that happened when I was 12. And it was, I first started liking girls. I took, there's a girl in particular I liked. I took weeks of psyching myself up to ask her to go with me. That was the equivalent of dating in middle school. And so I was all nervous and kind of laughing, and I said, would you go with me? In the locker room surrounded with all the other kids. And she just kind of laughs and she says no. And then all the other kids laughed, and I was like, ugh. And I made up in that moment, I'm unlovable. Something's wrong with me. No one wants to go out with me. For 2 years, I never asked the girl out after that because I was always like, I just knew that they were going to reject me. I didn't want to go through that pain and suffering again. And I was a virgin until I was 23. It wasn't until in my late 30s that I started doing some of this work that I went back to that moment. I said, oh, wait a minute, that was just an interpretation. I'm lovable. That was just an event. She was just a little kid that was nervous and embarrassed, and she was laughing because I was laughing, and it doesn't really have anything to do with me. And so when I was able to shift that and say, I am lovable and I'm attracting a partner, and not the, like I said before, not the needy person, but someone that can inspire me and be an adventurer that can help me change the world and make the world a better place. Then I found, and all of a sudden, boom, the love of my life showed up, and now I've been happily married. The key is until I went back and reprogrammed that story, I didn't even have access to her. In fact, we met 2 years before we started dating, but I had not finished working through my stuff, and so I didn't even notice the potential. I didn't even go down that path because I wasn't in that space yet, if that makes sense. So the key is, if you want to change the outside, if you want to have access to your dreams and desires, you just change the inside. You just have to go in and uncover all the stories that might be in your way and create new stories. They're your stories. They're just interpretations. They're not really real until you make them so in your mind. Make up empowering stories. Make up that you're amazing and powerful and sexy and empowered. And you will show up that way. You'll create evidence for that, and you'll recreate a new story that will then support you in everything that you want.
Yeah. One story I had as a young adult was the true love waits story. True love waits. So I was vowed to be a virgin until I was married. Until I finally decided waiting was waiting too long. I was 21 and I was ready to stop waiting because I didn't know when true love was going to show up. And the story that I had to protect myself of being a virgin was, everybody wants me, but nobody can have me. And then when I decided I wanted to start dating, I'm like, oh, fuck. I have the story that everybody wants me, but nobody can have me. Do you know how hard it is to, find someone when you have that story, but nobody can have you? I'm like, and I totally recognized it and totally knew it was there. And so then I had to shift it. So I shifted it to, everybody wants me, and I can have anyone I so desire. And ta-da! Boys that I so desired started popping up in my life and were available for me to date and have lovely relationships with, in which I learned lots, explored my sexuality, and it only took 2 boys before I got to Scott. 1, 2, 3, ding, 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 ding.
And it still happens. So the beauty of this, guys, is that, and by the way, we kind of were late stars, but we're making up for lost time. It's never too late to have your dreams. So you're never too late to fall in love and have exactly what you want.
Never too late to bloom and blossom and grow.
And this is powerful stuff. We can only share a little tidbit here in a few minutes. What we do have, though, is a sexual empowerment weekend that's happening September 28th through 30th. And it is where we delve deeply into this. We uncover all of our unconscious stories. We have powerful practices to rewrite this. You have coaches and support and some really powerful activities, and using Tantra and using breathing and movement, all these things.
Embodiment practices to really release the stuff that's held in your body and embody new things that are helpful for you and forwarding.
Amen. So, this is sometimes easier said than done. Even if you intellectually understand that, it might not create the shift that you need. But awareness is the first step. So hopefully this video is useful for you. And if you need some more support, or you just really want to see what is under the water you don't know about, it's kind of like icebergs. We're just floating along the top. You don't really know what's deep down and really controlling you till you look. This is insidious. It's unconscious for the vast majority of people, and it's much more impactful for your life than you might even realize. So if you don't have everything that you want, if you don't feel 100% sexually empowered, if you're not in love with your life, if you're not having the job of your dreams, if you're not enjoying life to its fullest with health and excitement every day of your life,
or having the best sex life in the world,
you may want to check this out and see what you don't know that you might be missing. So anyway, check it out. We think it's extraordinary. And just a little side note, we actually rate each other before and after the event on how sexy you are. And just through shifting these stories we're talking about, we have an average increase of over 20% in sexiness in just the weekend. So if you want to get sexier, if you want to be more empowered, it's pretty cool. So that's it. I hope this video was useful for you. Hey, Bernard. And this is Scotty O and Melanie.
Hope to see you at Sexual Empowerment.
And if not, just notice your assumptions and create powerful ones. Love is the answer. Acceptance is the key. Bye-bye.
Finish.